Good morning, Sam. Pyong pyong.
Good evening, Mallory.
Welcome back to Nobody Leaves, a podcast where I do an increasingly intense series of stunts in order for your attention. And we also talk about, riddles and puzzles and sometimes anime, but mainly we're like a riddle-focused podcast.
Mallory, we were talking before this.
Yes.
You have long maintained that your mini cosplays that you do for each episode of this show, which if people aren't watching the video version, you're wearing bunny ears right now.
You're missing out. Yeah.
Does this mean that you own bunny ears? Is that... I have questions.
No, I
have questions
yes.
about your motivations. I have questions about the pitch this week. I have,
You're questioning...
Just commenting. Yeah.
I'm kind of
just
seeing
making
like
observations.
I'm kind of feeling observed in this moment. So, no, I mean, I do have to confess that this is the biggest purchase I've made for cosplaying on this podcast. I spent 1,000 yen, which is more than like the 100 yen I spent on a hair clip once. So less, I'd say like maybe $7 or $8 in US. I don't know where inflation stats are now, but yeah, I did have to shell out, but I was like, I feel like I can just add this to my regular wardrobe, or just like, just kind of it's
just
I
wear the
felt,
ears out around town. Yeah.
It felt weird to not have bunny ears at this point. Like at this point with where I am in my career, I feel like I should have bunny ears just around just in case, which yeah, I feel like does bring to the more like sussing me part of thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is already like the analysis or not, but I mean, obviously we got to talk about furries in this episode, and obviously we got to
What if we didn't? What if we like went the whole podcast and we just never mention furries or furry culture or furry awakenings from a certain rabbit character? What if we just like just treated BEASTARS as its own thing,
Yeah, there's nothing special or like outside of BEASTARS in the culture that has any bearing on like what it is. Like that's kind of our assumed position, perhaps. No,
They're just
sorry.
animals. Look, the rabbit's hot. All right, it's fine. Don't worry about it. How's your week been, Mallory? Let's hold off on the tide of BEASTARS conversation.
Yeah, I think
it'll. For now.
I'll keep my furry opinions to myself at this point. But yeah, no, it's been a good week. I've been catching up on my Deltarune lore. I've definitely been diving into some old video essays, some new video essays, just gearing up, really like reawakening that like fixation of mine.
I already knew this actually.
Yes. About Deltarune?
About you and your reawakening of Deltarune. Because when I go to publish stuff on our YouTube channel, I can see our shared history, and it shows itself to me without me like digging into it. So I'm not snooping, but then I'll happen to notice like the last like 5 videos, and they were all Deltarune lore, analysis, theories, reactions, and I was like, oh, Mallory's getting into it. That's good.
Yeah.
That bodes well for future episodes.
Certainly I need to switch out of it. I don't know why I'm still logged into that account as just my default one on my computer. It's not on my phone, which is where I do most of my YouTube watching, but like definitely anytime I put anything on my computer, I'm logged into that account. And I don't know why, because you upload the videos, but I mean, yeah, I've definitely fallen back into the rabbit hole. Ha 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 ha. I'm wearing rabbit ears, everybody. But then I don't know. It's been a good week for like just fixating on stuff, because I think like today basically was the day that I was reawakening all my like BEASTARS thoughts and obsessions and spirals and stuff, and I'm just I don't know. It's fun. I've been riding the high, but yeah, like
So
not a whole lot of
didn't
new
you
content.
rewatch this show like when around the time we did Skip and Loafer, and you're like, I should pitch BEASTARS, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, it's been weird, like a weird kind of delayed gratification thing. Because I did rewatch season 1, which I originally watched when it came out years ago, but then watched 2 and 3 back to back afterwards. So yeah, I don't know. It's I'm trying to get better at like lining up the podcast with like when I'm actually like on the thing and super excited. But I'm happy to say like I'm still like it was pretty easy to reawaken the obsession, I think, for this week.
Reawakens a certain choice phrase, I would say.
So anyway, let's stop talking about me. Let's go. So how's your week been?
I haven't watched anything. I've been just hanging out, being busy, doing busy things, work. Well, really boring, like top of line stuff. Just busy with work, busy with running, busy with cooking, like just a bunch of household chores. Real
new Pope
fascinating stuff.
Out.
New Pope's out. New Pope dropped. Released. Yeah. Super invested in that. Obviously, it's a strong Catholic background. That's not true at all.
I'm always so interested of like who I see talking about the Pope, because I feel like I like coming from a Catholic family and not caring and not like I'm not Catholic now, for anyone that might be surprising, but I think that like it's weird to see a lot of people who definitely aren't Catholic or Christian like really caring a lot about the Pope, and like it
has
matters,
kind of the royal
I
family
guess.
vibe.
Yeah,
like where people get obsessed. People who are not from the UK get obsessed with like the lineage and Charles and William and all that jazz.
Exactly. It's very much those vibes. It's like this has like this weird kind of bygone cultural significance that isn't really actually bygone, but I don't know, like is like it seems like the previous Pope's statements didn't really hold a whole lot of sway over like the huge Christian movement in the US right now. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this new one's pretty oppositional so far to the current state of the world, you know?
The real Christian leader of our country. Yeah, no.
Yeah, you know.
Any other news? We're covering news now. We didn't have enough.
Yeah, now we're a hard-hitting news podcast. You threw me a curveball with the Pope.
I was like,
he's from Chicago. He's probably had a deep dish pizza at some point.
Do you think he's watched The Bear?
I doubt it, but it'd be funny if he had. He has watched Conclave. That was confirmed by his brother. And I like the trend of, like, the first American Pope. Immediately, of course, he has a brother that, like, will talk to the press and just say stupid shit. Like, immediately.
Man.
Like, frame one, we're getting...
Wow.
Yeah, my brother watched Conclave, like, the night before he was elected. It's like, okay, that's pretty funny.
What is Conclave about?
Conclave is about... A conclave, in general, is the gathering of the cardinals who vote on the new pope. But it was also a very popular movie last year about this whole scenario before the Pope died, which is strange. And now, right now, it's like the most watched movie like of the week, where people are just going and being like, all about the Pope. Let's watch Conclave.
That's really interesting.
Strange. It's a really weird time for that movie to have been like just out.
It feels like he shouldn't be allowed to what? Like, if you're gonna be in the room and part of the conclave, like, you shouldn't be, like, it feels like me watching Emilia Perez, like, it shouldn't be allowed, like,
well, in my mind, a pope is like still living in like 500 AD. Like, it's weird to think of a pope watching movies in general. And I know people really liked that about Conclave, where it's like the cardinals are like vaping and it's just funny to have that image, and there's a lot of good memes from it. I haven't actually seen the movie. It's one of the few Best Picture nominees that I just missed last year, but I have seen the memes, and they're very funny.
It reminds me of, like, I mean, the previous Pope had Undertale introduced to him, you know what I mean? And yes. I think, like, a big part of that controversy and, like, not to defend MatPat, but I do think a big part of that controversy was people's perception of like, no, this guy lives in 500 AD. You can't like,
yeah, the Pope is not
like
supposed to know about video games. What are we talking about here?
It's like the Star Trek thing where they're not allowed to like introduce like technologies to like developing civilizations too early because it'll like mess with the timeline. Like
the Prime Directive, I think, is what that's called.
Yeah, like you have to protect the ecosystem of popes. Like you can't like you know.
Cannot introduce the lemon lime vape or the Undertale soundtrack OST. Megalovania cannot be heard in the halls of the Vatican City.
Yeah. Be so amazing, man.
I realize I don't know the name of the big church in Vatican City, so I said the Vatican City.
Is it not the Vatican?
The Vatican's the city. Is the Vatican also the church? I don't think it is. I think it's it St. Bastiles or something?
I thought, well, I'm sure it has other names, but I thought people are.
You're the Catholic. I don't know. You're the lapsed Catholic.
Like news came out of the Vatican. That's what I hear. Like the Vatican has. But
Vatican City is the city.
Yeah, but I thought that was like
and country
naming, like they named the city after the fact that the Vatican is there and the Vatican's the building. That's what I'll put my money on. I might be extremely wrong.
It is St. Peter's Basilia.
Yeah. And there's a C in there, and you're like, how are you supposed to pronounce that one?
Yeah, Basilica. St. Peter's Basilica. I'm kind of a dumbass, but I'm mostly there. Somewhere.
Don't worry, I want to say like Basilica or something, and that can't be it. You know what I mean? It looks like Basilisk.
Yes, it does. So I've been playing Dark Souls 2. That's all I've got going on. It feels on topic.
Does that have any Catholic stuff in it?
There's a lot of churches and weird castles and stuff. That's all I got. That's what I've been doing with my free time when I'm not like banging out YouTube videos or getting sick or running or working or all those different things. I'm like, man, I'm gonna play some Dark Souls 2. It's the only From Software game. Scratch that. It's one of 2 From Software games, like main Souls or Souls adjacent video games that I have not played. I've played Dark Souls 1. I've played Dark Souls 3. I've played Bloodborne. I've played Sekiro. I've played Elden Ring. But I've never played Demon Souls, which is old and janky and hard to purchase, and I don't have a PS5. And I've never played Dark Souls 2. It's kind of bad, but it's also kind of charming.
What's the good Dark Souls?
This has been Sam Video Game Review Corner. What's the good Dark Souls? Dark Souls 1.
Dark Souls 1? Oh man.
Yeah. It's also kind of bad and janky, but it's the one that started it all in a weird way.
I have a question. Is Shadow of the Colossus related to Dark Souls?
No.
All right.
They follow a similar design philosophy of especially with their storytelling of like you can kind of figure it out for yourself and just make like assumptions based on architecture and limited plot details and esoteric cutscenes, but you're just kind of along for the ride. I think that's the big inspiration. I know Eco is also considered a big inspiration for the Dark Souls series, which is pseudo connected to Shadow of the Colossus.
Is
also Big Enemy.
Elden Ring is made by Dark Souls, though, right?
Yes, Elden Ring is made by Dark Souls.
Okay. Are they the same world or are they different worlds?
Different worlds.
Okay.
Damn. Same with Bloodborne. Bloodborne also different world. Bloodborne is like, what if we put Dark Souls in England?
I thought Bloodborne was like a spin-off of Dark. Like I thought it was like the Cleveland show. To
it is. I mean,
Dark
it kind
Souls
of.
Family Guy. That's what
It's. You're rolling around. You're fighting bosses. You're chugging Estus or some kind of healing blood gems or whatever. You're leveling up. You're upgrading strength or dexterity or endurance. Like it's all. There's a formula to it, right?
I see.
You're gonna find a Moonlight Greatsword. You're gonna find a big green Greatsword that looks cool and is an Easter egg in every game. You're gonna pay for some really expensive DLC that has like the best bosses in the series, you're gonna there's gonna be a poison swamp. Like there's certain, it's like poetry, it rhymes, you know? Like there's just certain reverberations throughout the entire series, but they do somewhat different things. And then Sekiro's its weird own, like, samurai, like, Sekiro's the American Dad. Like, it's just doing its own thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because I feel like the more accurate comparison would be Rick and Morty, two solar opposites, because they're, like, made by the same creator and they're very similar, but they have, like, completely different universes and characters or whatever. Is my understanding now.
Why are you bringing adult animation into Western adult animation into my From Software conversation?
I don't know. I just felt like I want to explain it to the layman, and most people like me, we've only ever seen Family Guy. We've never gotten to experience these things. I don't know. I'm just always curious because I hear about all of these games, and they really truly blend into like one single amalgamation in my mind, like Sekiro included.
Well, here's the thing, Mallory.
Yeah.
They're actually really good. Like,
well, that's
I know
the thing
that
too. Yeah.
People talk about them so much and people get obnoxious about it and, video games should be hard and get good and blah, 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 blah. They're kind of fantastic. Yeah. They're weirdly funny. Like, it's hard to explain, but, like, you'll be playing a Dark Souls game and you're working your way through a level, and you'll outthink a trap. Like, there's a guy hidden behind a door, and you're like, I know there's a guy hidden behind that door. I got the guy. And then a second guy comes out from another door, and you're like, okay, well, that's just classic comedy. Like, there's a weird energy to them where they're kind of wacky and silly, but they're also, like, macabre, and you're in a world, you're in, like, basically, like, living in, like, a dying world that's burning out, and you're fighting horrible monsters and this and that, but also, and everyone you interact with is crazy or going crazy, but it's also a little silly. You'll fight, like, a monster with, like, big googly eyes, and you'll be like, all right, that was good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't want to, like, come off like I don't think that they're good, because I think they're one of those things that obviously are. It's just, like, it's such a genre that's, like, not, that doesn't draw me in for, like, it's like the same thing as, like, Lord of the Rings. Like, I have a hard time with, like, just fantasy stuff in general, and then when you get, like, dark and, like, kind of walking around, like, old caves and churches, I'm like, I don't like this.
Well, in year 7 of the Nobody Leaves podcast, I'll make you play Dark Souls 1.
Well, I was gonna say that I think that, like, it seems like not something that I could really get a good experience of in a week, and also probably I'd have to pay $60 for it. But, like, I do feel like me playing one of those games would be a good experience. Like, it's like I have this, like, curiosity due to, it's like, obviously they have this high quality and they're such a big thing in the culture, but, like, if not for this podcast, there's no way I'm ever gonna go out of my way to pick it up.
I would make you play Dark Souls 1 up until the Tauros demon, which is the first major boss of that, the second major boss of that game, technically. Because you fight a tutorial boss, and then you work your way through one of the largest areas in that game, and then you fight a guy on a bridge it's difficult.
Definitely got to be during, like, a month-long hiatus, because I'm so
yes. It is. Now, I'm bad, or was bad. I've beaten all of these games, to be clear. Like, and that's not even that challenging. There are ways to make these games easy, and I am certainly Spirit Ashes all the way, Summons all the way, like, screw it. I beat the boss. I beat Sekiro, which you can't do anything to make it easier, so ooh. I got my bona fides, all right? I got my Dark Souls bona fides. However, I graduated with a summa cum laude, Dark Souls. However, when I first played Dark Souls 1, like, 8 years ago, it took me fucking forever. I mean, it took me probably 20 hours to work my way through the Undead Settlement, which is, like, one of the first major areas in the game. So it's a tough pitch, and I'm good at video games. I'm okay. And you're Mallory. You're wearing bunny ears, all right? So
I'm just a little silly.
You're just a little silly. But it is, they're unbelievable. And even right now, playing the one that most people consider to be the worst, it's still, like, a great game.
Mm.
And it's still there's still so much to enjoy out of it. And it's like I could play a Dark Souls game every year until I died and be pretty happy. And I basically have, because they put out games like really fast.
Yeah, that's surprising too. Like, it seems like they do have such a like big scope for like each game. The stuff I hear about like these games, I'm like, that's crazy that they're making that every year. And GTA 6 is like,
yeah, I know.
we even talk about Bonnie and Clyde, Sam. I forgot. Listen, I knew something was happening.
GTA 6 will be good, I think. I'm excited about it, but I also like I'm fine to wait. It's like people are sad about the delay. It's like it's fine.
I would love to talk about GTA 6 or 5, honestly, or any of the GTAs. I feel like that's crazy.
I remember you really liked GTA 5, which to me was a little unusual.
I really did. There's stuff about it. There's stuff that sucks, and then there's stuff like, one thing you got to know about me is I love when two characters have parallel arcs and they are like, one is like really to this extreme and the other's really to this extreme, and then there's like a central main character that is kind of like,
that's oddly specific, but okay,
experiences like the both extremes, and then like incorporates that into like what their final like decision or final like outlook on life is going to be by taking from both extremes. And I'm talking about both Deltarune and GTA 5. I'll tell you that much, because I don't know, there's something about that where I'm like, oh yeah, like it's like
Mallory's a big Franklin fan.
Yeah, I love Franklin. Okay, imagine like the painting of like Plato and Socrates or whoever the two people are, and they're like arguing on the like the philosophy debate painting that's like used in memes. Like, just put Trevor and Michael's heads on there, and now put Susie and Ralsei's head. They don't have to get too deep for me to be like, I love the symmetry.
You like a character caught between two ideas.
And those ideas being represented by like a character that fully embodies a certain ideal is fun to watch, I think. And yeah, having two of those like butting heads, it's like, oh yeah, now we're in the money zone. Now we're making something good. So yeah.
How do I get you to play all of Red Dead Redemption 2 in a week? It's 160 hours. You think you can handle it?
I mean,
let me tell you, I'm more
yeah.
excited about GTA 6 because of Red Dead 2, which is,
if it's like GTA
phenomenal.
5, it's not that hard. It takes a long time, but it's not like, the challenge level is definitely a little bit lower. But I don't know how close it is.
It's a very slow game, but it's really good. And I want to be able to yell at you like, I've got a plan, Mallory, and you understand what I'm talking about.
I'll still laugh if you say that normally. That's crazy. But speaking of characters that fully embody a single ideal and drive themselves to crazy extents to fulfill that ideal, even at loss of life and limb, Sam, our podcast is taking off. It's time to be a stars.
Not only do you like stumble your way through it, but you also somehow sound like you're reading off of a piece of paper. Like, it's both. I didn't know that was possible, but it's like, anyway, we're gonna be a star. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, man. Sam, what do you think about BEASTARS? I'm crazy about this series. I want to talk about it so much. We got to talk about furries. We got to talk about Andrea Dworkin. We got to talk about, queer theory. We got to talk about, feminism and, diversity and equality initiatives. There's so much ground to cover with this series, Sam. What's going on in your head when you watch these episodes of this anime that I said that you have to watch this week?
I mean, it's all right. No, it's pretty good. It's a little monologue heavy, but BEASTARS I have enjoyed over the last 3 days of binging the first season because I am lazy and I wait until the last minute. Legoshi's fun. Haru's fun. The dub, really good. I didn't intend to watch the dub, but when like Netflix auto-played it, it was the dub, and I was like, this guy playing Legoshi has like kind of a good voice. Let me like test out an episode. And then I ended up going through the whole season with the dub voice actors.
Yeah, I've definitely seen clips of the dub on YouTube, and I was checking some of those out to like prepare for this, and like, yeah, it's really nice. I've mostly seen it in the Japanese version, and like I have to say, voice acting in that too is like phenomenal. There's like there was a line that like really hit me this watch where it's like during the one of like my favorite scenes that I want to talk about, which is like the first time that he like jumps and Haru and is like cradling her, and like he's like fighting his instincts of whether to eat her. Like
the end of the
he's
first
like
episode,
talking
you mean?
about yes, the end of the first to like the beginning of the second episode. He's like talking about like he's like her skin's so soft and stuff like that, and he like delivers like a thing's like her skin's so soft like that kind of, and like it truly sounds like he's like wiping away like the drool as he's like delivering the line, like which yeah, I haven't seen every single scene in the English version, so I don't know if like, but I assume it seems like they put the effort in on that side.
No,
as well.
I think so. And there's like some weird post-processing that's like done on everyone's voice where they all have like a little bit of like a weird like timbre that really works for the show. Like they sound unique to me compared to like English. I don't know. Like there's some kind of effect that they do that I think really works to like add that like little bit of strangeness because you're watching, you know, tigers and wolves and rabbits talking a bit.
Oh my.
I there was a weird thing watching it where I kept being like, this is a famous voice actor, right? And then I'd go look and it's like, not really. Like there's a lot of like Chris Sabat likes and Matt Mercer likes in the dub, but they're not Matt Mercer or Christopher Sabat, who's Vegeta or All Might. And I thought that was really interesting. I think there was someone famous, but I can't remember. They all have like, they kind of sound like they're doing an impression of more famous voice actors. And sometimes it doesn't work for me, but most of the time I thought it was really good. Like occasionally it sounds a little bit like, I don't know how to it's like a Fire Emblem voice actor where it's like, I'm going to enunciate my point.
Yeah,
I don't want to eat that rabbit. You know, like it's a little barky.
I can think of some scenes. I'm maybe thinking of Louis, although I don't know exactly. If
Louis
him,
has that
like,
in spades for
like,
sure. Like Louis and Legoshi both are like very.
Yeah,
I'm delivering my line.
Yeah, which is also like
okay.
I think partially like I feel like the writing lends itself to that in a way of like there's like a, you call yourself a wolf, huh? Like there's like a little bit of like,
very much so. I mean, it is.
It's anime voice,
and
yeah.
And sometimes I like it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, like we've been doing anime voice for like 3 episodes right now. Like, can we chill out a little bit? Like, it gets a little melodramatic. That being said, pretty good show. Pretty cool ideas.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I think it is also like definitely a melodramatic high school like experience for sure. Like that's definitely a factor. It's interesting because I relate so many of like the experiences of the characters to like my experience in like college, which is like when I first watched season 1. And I think also just relating like, you know, they're living in like a dorm high school, like a prestigious kind of private institution where they're all like living and staying like on the campus, which I relate a lot more to my experience of college than I do like high school. And in terms of like some of the situations they find themselves, but yeah, no, it is definitely that just like adolescent stepping out into the world, like figuring out how to handle things type of series. I think it's one of the series like I really enjoy it. There's definitely flaws that you could point to that's not perfect, but I think it's like it's more one of those things where I'm like excited to talk about it because of like the types of conversations I feel like it provokes and like the types of like themes that I feel like it's going into. Like it's I mean, like, full disclaimer, I feel like there I think I maybe probably mentioned this in the Dun Da Dun episode, but I feel like there are like a set of like anime and manga and like media coming out of Japan that like really tries to focus on this like gap between like the two worlds of like men and women and like address these like the gender divide and like all these
right.
can we understand each other and like
which has largely gone like untalked about in society at large, but Japanese society particularly, right? Like
yes,
calling attention to, in this case, through allegory and animalistic metaphors, ideas about men and women, power dynamics, predatory natures,
yeah,
perceptions, opinions, infighting, all kinds of ideas.
definitely. Like there's so much stuff and like of this series that I feel like brush up against this concept. Like I do think Dun Da Dun is like one of them, and like the way that you can interpret like the world of monsters and the world of like aliens is like the worlds of men and women that like they're different kind of like experiences and psyches. I feel like BEASTARS is like one of my favorite and like most interesting commentaries on that I'm seeing from like anime broadly, I guess. That's like my thesis statement on this series. And like yeah, I feel like there's just also an angle to talk about like I don't know, like interpreting like how do I put it? The carnivores and herbivores, like there's a very strong argument to interpret them as men and women, especially in this season. Like I think season 1 is like very much about like those gender dynamics. There's definitely a lot of other readings you can put on the series, like
you could put a racial
race,
dynamic on it like really easily if you wanted to, right?
yes, and like sexuality, of course, like definitely can like gotta shout out like one of my favorite video essays that I've seen probably ever, at least in recent years, Legoshi's Gay, a Queer Reading, that was released by Boring Keith, a gay furry YouTuber who also comes out in this video. It's a really, this is like 3 or 4 hours long. It's really nice. It's really, really good.
Can't
but
wait
he
for that pitch
queer rates
next
the
week.
whole series. Yeah, now that you've watched this season 1, now we gotta watch the video essay about it. But I mean, it's honestly good, and like I think there's definitely like readings to be had. I mean, we could talk about like the idea of like Legoshi and Haru's relationship as like a queer relationship in the way that like their relationship is stigmatized, but obviously you could call it an interracial relationship. But I personally feel like season 1 is just such a beautiful encapsulate like interrogation of like some of the narratives around gender and some of the proposed solutions to try and like create harmony, and how they're not necessarily really addressing like the roots of the problem, and how the man who is too feminist for his own good, Legoshi, the most beautiful white knight in shining armor who will fight so hard to protect women, to respect women, respecting women too much for his own good. I love Legoshi. He's so good. He's one of my favorite characters.
The gentle giant.
Yes, is a really great like center to the series. So that's my broad takes and the angle, kind of previewing some of the stuff I want to talk about. But I'm curious to know what you thought of that kind of stuff on your watch.
Well, we've talked about this before, like the concept of applying real world problems to like a a slight abstraction or a slight bend, right? In this case, all the characters are animals, and it's about herbivores versus carnivores, and animalistic instincts to consume or to eat your prey and whatnot. But we've touched on this idea throughout this podcast a lot. Like, I know we haven't done a Goodnight Pun Pun episode. It's always behind me for whatever reason, but because of how my bookshelf is laid out. That's a series where, like, the main character is this weird little stick figure bird, and then everyone else is like a normal human. And so you can apply yourself to that bird, and it makes it to where it's like you become more invested in that character and his dynamics and his traumas and whatnot, because it could be anybody. It's like looking at a stick. A Beautiful World, that short film, I know does that as well. Like you mentioned, Dawn to Dawn. Dawn to Dawn, mostly about alien and yokai shenanigans, but always tying back into real-world human tragedies, whether that's like the tragedy of the sex worker in the Acrobatic Silky arc, or just Momo. Like, the first scene of Dawn to Dawn is Momo kicking her ex-boyfriend to the curb after he makes some really gross comments and advancements, right? Like, it is the text. Star Wars, we just talked about Andor a few weeks ago, and it's like, let's apply real-world problems and historical problems in context to stormtroopers and rebels and X-Wings and Y-Wings and whatnot. BEASTARS does this really well. The only thing I knew about BEASTARS going in was that people have a lot of opinions about the deer guy, and people, and that rabbit likes to fuck. And, like, that's the only thing I'd heard about it for years. And it's like, in classic internet meme fashion, you know, you're missing the forest for the trees, right? I was very impressed by the fact that Haru is a fully fleshed out character. She's not just a plot device. She's not just a gag about rabbits liking to fuck. Like, I thought it was going to be more like that than it was. I thought it was going to be more one note than it was. That her character was going to be very much just like the girl in a love triangle. In this case, the bunny in a love triangle. That wasn't the case for the most part. There's a really beautiful sequence in this where an episode starts with her talking in very, like, metaphorical language about finding inner peace with herself and flowers and calm and quiet, and she's having sex with Louis, and it's very, like, the imagery is very abstract, and it goes into this really beautiful watercolor sequence, and it's like, damn, BEASTARS, I didn't know you had that in you. And it it kind of continues that throughout, and I think it gets better as it goes along throughout the entire season. I wasn't crazy about the Legoshi versus Tiger Mike sequences. It's a little like,
really,
we're talking about the themes, guys, themes. And it was like, okay. Like, I kind of got it from the minute one here, but as it gets deeper into what Louis all about and what Haru is all about, and Legoshi stops being that, like, you got to start a character at the bottom, right? You got to make Legoshi the most weak-willed, like, meek, I just don't know, I'm gonna stare at my shoes guy ever, so that you can build him up. But that part of the process I'm so sick of, because it's just like, I'm like, all right, we know, I get it. He's got to start, and he's awkward, and he's the outcast, and he's sad wolf boy. Can we get to where he can have an actual conversation? I feel like anime goes a little too far with that sometimes, where it's like, just spit it out. Like, this is too much for too many episodes in a row. But by the end of the show, he's having a full-fledged conversation with Haru, and it's like, it's very compelling and interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I do enjoy that about Legoshi, and I don't know that he ever really gets beyond that. Like, he is, his monologues.
I mean, it's really extreme in the beginning. Like, he cannot say more than 2 words to this rabbit, and it's like, all right, can we move on? I just want to fast forward this part a little bit.
There are just some, like, scenes that I just really love, though, of, like, I when I think of that, I think of some of my favorite stuff in the series of, like, him when he's like, I mean, like, the initial scene where, like, Haru kind of, like, makes these sexual advances on him that he's like not aware of, because she is assuming that's like what he wants out of the situation.
Right.
Like his like little like monologues like in the side by side with her like speaking and like undressing or whatever, and
that's
it's like,
not what I'm talking about. That's
okay.
That's the action. That's the juice. I'm talking about 3 scenes doing kind of the same thing leading up to the garden club. Like, I'm just thinking about this rabbit again. I'm just thinking about this rabbit again. What do I like her? You know, like there's a few too many of those for me. The actual like interactions, I really like the scene where they have lunch together and he wants to ask her name. And she's like 6 steps ahead, where she's like doesn't care about something that basic at that point. Like she's already thinking about the dynamics between Wolf and Rabbit, where he's still stuck on like, would it be? Or should I just go come out and ask her like, what is your name? You know, like it's cute.
What is
it's
your
very,
name?
It's very endearing.
What's
your name?
Where do I put the where do I put the emphasis on? Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, I get that, and I do think that there are like highs and lows to the series. There are definitely some parts where like it can be a little rough around the edges on like a budget consideration. Like I think it's 3D animated in a style that I really enjoy, and I know that has like earned kind of a lot of praise, but there are like,
I have no issue with how the show looks.
Yes. There are some splotches of 2D animation which honestly in season 1 like are not crazy. Basically, it will be certain characters will be 2D animated because like they didn't make a model for them. So like the giraffe and like the rhino in the like
right, background characters who have a few random lines here or there.
Right. Yeah, but then like I think that yeah, like there's still polish on this one to where it's like not that bad, but yeah, I mean there's some rough around the edges stuff and some like pacing I think here and there definitely for sure, but broadly, man, I love Lego She's monologues. I could watch him just like not be able to talk to a woman for like just I have watched him do that for hours, because I mean in a lot of ways like as much as he does like have that like conclusion with how to on the stairs or whatever, and he's like able to express some of his thoughts a little better, like he doesn't improve in many ways for like future seasons. Like, and I don't know, I think he's such an enjoyable character of like, he's just such an extreme of like, I don't want to take up space. I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable ever. I just want to like create peace like wherever I go. Like it's
right. There's a fine line between like repetition and character reinforcement, right? And
yeah,
you or I may fall on different lines of that line for this show, but
definitely.
Like by and large, like I like that I end the season and I know exactly what Legoshi's about. I know exactly what Haru's about. I know exactly what Mike's about, what Louie's about, and that's hard to do. And so maybe if the scene where I may find the first 4 or 5 episodes a little repetitive, it's probably working towards like just reinforcing these ideas, because I'm going into it having heard through the grapevine a little bit about BEASTARS here and there, and it's like I already kind of get the metaphor pretty quickly, so it's like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm like it's playing catch up for the audience it feels like it's playing to the back of the room a little bit. But it's still very good, and it's very interesting.
Speaking
and then
of,
when it really starts to get into it, it's really good.
Continuing to target areas that you criticize, though, you've called the tiger Mike several times, and he is called Bill, and you've also said you didn't like him very much, or
Why
his
did you
scenes.
let me keep calling him the wrong name?
Well, because the first time you said it, I was like, is that like a thing? Like you call someone a Mike? But
no,
you're
Tiger
also
Mike,
saying a lot of
is
stuff.
a fighting game character, I think.
You were like in the middle of a thing, so I didn't want to interrupt you, and then you said it again. I was like, oh
Fuck.
Wait. But yeah, I don't know. I personally like. Maybe I'm stupid. I will say, like, cards on the table. I think I found like Lego She's situation to be very relatable. The first time I watched this like show when I was in like college, this was like pre-transition, pre-me confronting a lot of my like issues like related to gender and a lot of my like hang-ups related to like dating in general, and I definitely related to like the feeling, and I can still recall the feeling that Legoshi expresses. I don't know that I ever really acted like Legoshi and just like staring at people and not like I think I tended to, even if I was anxious in those situations, like, you know, try and put my best foot forward and at least like speak.
Right.
You know, but like I think that I could definitely relate to feeling like this large hulking thing that's like waiting in the corner trying to stay outside of women's spaces, and like even if that's like not physically what was happening, it's definitely like a mental state of mind. I feel like I would feel kind of that way, and like reading like feminist discourse and stuff like that, and just feel kind of like, yep, I gotta just kind of like accept everything women are saying and just not really insert myself into this conversation at all and have any kind of opinion, even if like what they're saying might be like a little misguided or a little like not seeing the full picture of me or someone like me. And I think that like it definitely made me very uncomfortable on first watch, and I think like rewatching it, I'm able to like have a lot more of a complete picture of like the kind of mindset. And I think that like I don't know, like to me the Legoshi and Bill fight is just so cool in the sense of like I want to be on Legoshi's side and be like, it's like messed up that you're like doing this like rabbit blood, like because Bill just exudes all these like kind of toxic masculine like bro-y traits, right? He's your
He's
stereotypical
very jock. He's very like
jock bro,
striving. Yeah,
and he's very defensive whenever the carnivores are like accused of anything or like cast in a bad light or whatever, but then like on the side he's doing this like rabbit's blood thing or whatever to like get himself hyped up before the performance, and it's like
athletic doping, but the doping is eating your classmate, which is a little tough.
It's I mean I think it's well because like the big metaphor, the elephant in the room, haha animals, is the like the like eating being a metaphor for sex, I think
right.
is like huge, and like you know you just it's hard to imagine like how that would extend to that specific thing, like if he's like watching a porno bag or like looking at a porno bag before you
I have thoughts about
like that
porno later, but
yeah, or like smelling a girl's clothes or something, I don't know, like it's
right.
You imagine something gross about what he's doing, but like watching Legoshi be so righteous and like all this kind of stuff, and then like lose and fail and get his ass kicked because he is wrong on a fundamental level, which is like Bill is like himself and like Legoshi is not. Like Bill
Legoshi is internalized. You could
like
say
misandry, basically.
You could say racism, misogyny. Yeah, like he is whatever allegory you want to apply to BEASTARS in this given moment. He is that experience of like, yeah, I am a loser. I am a this or that. I am a big bad wolf. Like, I do live in a trailer park. I do whatever the 8 Mile rap. He is, I am white trash. Whatever the hell it is he says. He, those moments are definitely like where the show is shining for sure. I think that I found Tiger Bill, who I would never call Mike. How dare you?
He's not Mike.
He's a little. I think about Heartstopper a lot with this show, where it's the characters are a little too over exaggerated for me, for my personal taste. Like I find myself increasingly seeking out media where it's like feels super realistic, almost at the cost of an exciting or interesting show. Like I like naturalistic dialogue and acting and whatnot, even though sometimes it takes, in its own right, takes forever to get to the point. which is weird for a person who likes anime and manga quite a bit, which who I am. There are two wolves inside of me, but I have been waiting to make that joke the whole podcast.
Stop your stopwatches, everyone. We finally dropped.
It is still it's really impressive to be able to pull this much from not just an anime character, not just a 3D animated character, which has its own weird obfuscations, but a anthropomorphic wolf man who is, trying. I think last week I literally said, are they going to go to a school festival? Are they going to put on a play? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to do both of those things.
Yes,
but
they are.
It was well done, and I like it. And I don't want to discredit the work the show is doing. I just, at some points, I find it a little like, and they're on stage in front of the whole class, and the news reporter squirrel is there, or whatever, meerkat, or whatever she is. And it's like, okay, I get it. I think Louis is almost weirdly the most interesting part of that whole bit, because he's someone who clearly has a background of being like discriminated against as a herbivore, but then that makes him into such a racist or a homophobe or what have you. Again, you could kind of group them all together and just throw it into the allegory. But the way that I like the Louise, I'm going to get these names right. I like that Louise calls him out later as like, and he doesn't even deny it, like, you hate all carnivores. And but anyway, I like him in that scene. I like the perspective of the bad guy, basically. And he's in this season 1, at least, he's kind of the bad guy. And I think that he is probably the most fascinating character to me because him putting on airs and talking very one-dimensionally is a mask. And so I'm looking forward to seeing beyond that mask further and further as the show goes on. Assuming he didn't get murdered by lions, which would be a really dumb move if that's the case. I assume Louis will return.
I mean, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I mean, like, I think most people watching it have the level of media criticism to be like, okay, they're not going to just throw away like they're
right.
At least
he seems like a pretty important character.
At least second most interesting, if not third.
Did anything I just said about the play arc make sense? Because I feel like I went in a lot of different directions.
No, for sure. I was gonna say, like, because also just in response to your like thing, like, because obviously it does come down to taste, and like I definitely think that this series is one that like on pretty much all levels is best experienced as like it's a metaphor, man. Like I think that it's like when you try to put everything too literally, like things will start to conflict. I think on the same level when we talk about analyzing it through the lens of like race or gender, or, like sexuality or anything or class or whatever, it's like sticking too much to like any one interpretation, you're going to start to run into walls. At the same time, like thinking about how this carnivore and herbivore society is supposed to function too literally is also going to let you run into walls. And like
those details are really fun though, like the different sized doors and whatnot. That's a good
time. No, it's fun. There's this whole thing about the little herbivores having to like walk on the like sides of the hallway so they don't get stepped on. And like they like she's having fun with it. Like it's a really well constructed world and series, but it's also like getting trapped too much in like literal interpretations definitely doesn't help. And I think like same goes for the tone. Like I think the tone and like some of the events that happen, like definitely like how often are high school girls getting like kidnapped by the Yakuza, and then like or she like shoots like 10 like adult men and like saves his girlfriend, right? It's like, you know, it's
that reminded me
there's
of
level of
Skip and
cartoonish and which is
Skip and Loafer. That reminded me of Skip and Loafer, where it's like, and what is the dark past of Shima? He was caught drinking with his classmate. It's like, okay, where it kind of like it almost jumps the shark a little bit, where it's like, now we're gonna make it about this, and it's like, is BEASTARS really about gang warfare? I mean,
yeah,
I understand that the show may go in that direction, and the world is interesting enough that, like, to be clear, Panda might be my favorite character. I do enjoy.
I knew you would like him. I knew you would like him.
How could I not? Like, he's the best.
He's a rock star. He is the guy.
Mallory, the advice of, hey kid, don't murder your classmates. Try porn instead. What are we doing here? Just incredible. Like, and he puts him on the shame wall. Like, oh man. That whole sequence, while feeling very out of place for what the show has done up until that point, is awesome and very fun and entertaining. I will say that, the evil lion man is a little too one note, and it does have a little bit for a show that's so much about the internalized emotions of its characters. Haru really bounces back from almost being like sexually assaulted and then murdered and eaten pretty quickly in a way that feels a little disingenuous compared to the rest of the show. It feels like Louis is more wounded emotionally by his inaction than her being almost killed, which is a little strange, but that's just kind of how some of these shows go.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I think broadly, like, I mean, the fact that it like centers on like the drama club or whatever, like, I think experiencing it as like a musical and a play and everything's heightened and everyone's like kind of performing is like definitely to me the best way of like experiencing, because like I think that like so much stuff that happens is just about Legoshi's internal like maturation and psychosexual journey. Like I think that like the cartoonish way in which Haru is kidnapped by like cartoon villains like are literal like imagination of like what the Yakuza are like, and like these, you know, hyper masculine toxic guys or whatever, and their boss takes her up to his realm. It's like Bowser's castle or whatever, but it's all like setting the scene first of all for Haru to have her like, you know, standing
her
in
monologue.
her truth moment, like her
writing of the will, which I thought was a really interesting framing for all of that.
Oh my god, yeah. I think that it's like Haru is like so powerless throughout the series. Haru is cool, man. I like Haru. Haru is amazing, but I think that like her being like, okay, I cannot physically like stop you from like doing whatever you're gonna do, but I'm not.
But she
gonna
maintains
make it,
her dignity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
beautiful.
That was probably the most powerful bit to me, was the concept, because it ties in with an earlier Haru monologue. I think the one I was talking about earlier, where the reason she's so promiscuous is because like that's where it's the only time people treat her as an equal is in sex, and so like that alone is a fascinating motivation for this character, and I think can be very resonant with folks in the world.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that's my experience, but it is an interesting concept, and then it ties back. It's using the metaphor at its absolute best, which is like, what does a character who is this throwaway rabbit who is like a fourth of the size of all the other characters in the show, like how does that character maintain their dignity, maintain their autonomy when they are physically powerless in this world? And like that is great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really cool. And then like I think the flip side of it is like Legoshi like getting to experience his like kind of, I guess, like white knight, like Legoshi needs to experience this like white knight fantasy to get to the point where he can like consider it being a, like, you know, like I feel like
he
everything is about
the white knight
earning,
and be just like a good person.
Yeah, like he needs to like earn access to Haru in a way, almost like it's. I mean, like he needs to like prove his like loyalty and his chasteness, his ability to like resist his own instincts and like respect her in every way, and like he does it. He frees her from the bad guys or whatever, and then he takes her to the Love Hotel, or she takes him to the Love Hotel. And then we get the real finale. Then we get the real final boss in the series.
The climax,
which
if
is,
you would. Yeah.
Which is, can these two get over their hang-ups and have sex? And the answer is no.
No.
This is a good
Which I think
show.
is a good answer. Yeah, like I think it's it would be too much too fast if it was just like resolved. Like this would be a one-season show if suddenly all the problems of the world are solved and it's like, yeah, nature isn't that important. Clearly the author, to get back to kind of an earlier discussion about the Yakuza or what have you, the author chose to set this in a school and chose to set this in a drama club and chose to set it with characters on the cusp of adulthood. And that's supposed to be like, it's a way to examine society at large through the characters who are going to be the most affected by it and the most in the position to change it. And I think that is a good framing device. Like, how are the sins of their culture going to represent themselves in these characters and then potentially be absolved by these characters, right? Like, and I know the concept of the B-Star is not terribly explored in this season, but like...
Or ever.
Or maybe ever, I don't know. I haven't seen seasons 2 and 3, but you have. But like that idea of like, can a character or can a young person grow up to be Mayor Lion or whatever and be a better version of leadership and become like the person who changes this world for the better. And Legoshi seems to be that. And Louis wants to be that. And Luis, it seems like, really shouldn't be that. So it is, I'm interested to see where that goes. And it sounds like it doesn't go very many places, but I'm excited anyway.
It does. I think the, like, idea... I think what you just explained, like, the idea of, like, them being in the position to change and, like, take over the reins of the society and, like, how will they change it? Will they change it for the better, or will they just, like, inherit and just keep repeating these, like, ideas and like sins of the old world or whatever, is like very heavily explored. The B-Star itself like is weird and interesting. The weird stuff happens. Obviously I want to talk about all 3 seasons, but I don't want to I think I just want to lower your expectations that like you're going to understand what the B-Star is, because
the B-Star
very few people
like
do.
Whatever.
The
idea that like through the character's actions over and over again, the entire season 1, a wolf and a rabbit could never be together. Clearly that concept is going to be challenged as the series goes on, and as other characters, other members of the drama club, other members of the school, whatever, come to see this budding friendship and maybe more, and probably more, between Legoshi and Haru like continue. And that's exciting. It's a really good setup for a second season. I will say, the show really drops the our classmate got murdered plot for a long time. Like, considering that is the first scene and last scene of the season, it really doesn't go anywhere for a long time. And characters are both really cavalier about it, and then also... it just kind of goes nowhere. I'm sure it is going somewhere. I'm sure that will be an important plot line, but it is a little strange that it starts on such a dramatic note to never get... I could have used a little more. The reveal at the end of season 1 that Legoshi knows the killer, presumably, whoever's like popping pills or whatever that medicine is interesting. There's only so many people it could be, including tigers who may or may not be named Bill. But I will say, for a second, I was wondering if it was Louis, because of the reveal that Louis can take his antlers off. Because the silhouette in the beginning is very not deer-shaped, doesn't have, giant antlers. But then the reveal that his antlers are fake, which also is fascinating. A lot of... I know we keep saying that like it can be any of these metaphors, but there are certain details that feel like they really resonate with one of the interpretations, whether it be homophobia or racism or what have you. And so like the concept
and
of
some
him,
characters as well.
Right. The concept of him like sanitizing his image, Louis having to preserve his image through having the antlers. The lion mayor, who we only get like one scene with, Louis preserving, Lion Mayer sanitizing his image by filing his teeth down and having like fake teeth. Fucking fascinating. Like as like that is this show cooking, where these characters and this metaphor is being taken into very interesting ways, just from a plot and world building perspective, and then also could be very resonant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just to touch on the murder thing real quick, and then to talk about like some of the ways that it extends into these characters. Just that like I'm not sure how much of that is like an adaptation issue of like basically like season 2 is about this murder like really centrally, so it gets resolved at a point, but I'm not sure if like that's how the manga was written, or if it was a little bit more like intertwined between these kind of two ongoing storylines.
Some manga don't pacing wise translate well to a 12-episode season.
Absolutely,
Dawn is one of them. Dawn's right in the middle of an arc right now for 1 and 2.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that like I do think that one thing that the murder does like is to like serve, like there's like a big Gone Girl vibe, especially at the beginning, like where you don't know anything about Legoshi other than he's on the poster, and you see him like staring down and like stalking this like sheep who was like the former, I guess, like crush of Tem, who's the one who died, like, and he is like I don't know, there's just this big vibe of like, you know, he lost his control once, like in jumping on Haru, and like you're the whole time you're kind of like I don't really feel like it's there's just this feeling with Legoshi. It's like, did he had interactions with Tem as shown, like did he lose his control at another
it's
point
the red
in the
herring
past,
of the first episode, right? Is like
right. And but like I feel like killer, even beyond,
and also is Legoshi could he become a killer like this mysterious killer?
Absolutely. So it's I don't know. I think that it does create like this atmosphere of suspicion that like plays off really well. So then when you are interacting with like Bill and stuff, you're like, is he the murderer? When you're interacting with like any of these carnivores, like like the little I don't know if he's a weasel or what he is. He's like really mad that he got kicked out. He got
the
like
one who got put
demoted
on the
to
art team.
Yeah, art team. You know, it's very interesting. And then like the different ways in which like men like have to sanitize their images. I don't know, I'm just taking my favorite interpretation of this season, but it's like Legoshi is like very just like you know, like staying out of the way, versus like this like line is like, I've like surgically made myself friendly, and I like I hang out around people or whatever, and like you're kind of looking at him and you're like, and he's like, and we're not going to address this case of this like girl being
right. We're going to preserve the festival at the expense of this person's life. It's like that.
Yeah,
you had me and you lost me. I don't know.
He's very different from like Legoshi, but it's also kind of the same thing, and it's like the different ways in which in one interpretation, like men have to make themselves like less threatening to women, and how as a woman, like knowing the breadth and scope of like the different motivations, like how to navigate, like, is this person just trying to seal like a male feminist to like, you know, get closer
to be disarming,
you know what I mean?
Right,
it's like
as a tactic,
right? Yeah.
I would say society hasn't really figured out a lot of the answers to these questions. Like, I think the role of men in society has changed, is changing, will continue to change, and will go through periods of extreme progress and regression and what have you. And I don't want to go throwing terms around that people love to throw around, like male loneliness epidemic and blah, blah, blah. But like, there is a weird... I definitely navigate this in my own life of like... appear non-threatening, appear friendly, but hopefully take it further and be non-threatening, be friendly, which is more important than appearances of it. But there is a little bit of awkwardness there in terms of like, I struggle to ask people out because that can be too forward in a time that is we are living in now. Whereas back in the day, it was considered just the norm, even if it was pushy. Even like there's always the classic joke of like, yeah, you're sitting down with your grandpa and he starts telling you about, like, yeah, I just asked her out every day for 400 days. And then she finally was beaten down enough that she said yes. And 2 weeks later, we were married. Obviously, that's not a great version either, but we've kind of gone so far in the other direction where everyone is, I don't know, incapable of making a move.
Right. I mean, I think that, like, it's
Dynamics
interesting.
Are weird.
Like, yeah, it's reminding me. God, okay, are we getting to the ContraPoints? Are we getting to the Andrea Dworkin side of the conversation? Because God, I'm so ready. But yeah, like,
Sure.
there's a ContraPoints video where she's talking about, like, the idea, like, there's not really, like, a script anymore in the way that there used to be of, like,
That's
how
a good way to put it.
men and women are supposed to interact, and, like, that's
and
also
we're all just
true.
kind of flailing around and having
Yeah.
troubles.
And that's also true of, like, like, outside of the, like, for queer people as well. Like, there's a whole thing of, like, gay men struggling to, like, how do I get someone to, like, take me on a date and not just want to, like, meet up and have sex or whatever, just because of, like,
Right.
how that culture is developed out of, like, how men are socialized. At the same time, there's, like, I get, like, recommended this, like, lesbian subreddit, and just every single post is just like, how do I, like, talk to, like, I've been talking to this girl for, like, 5 years, and we live together and, like, cuddle every night and kiss when we're drunk, and I don't know how to, like, approach her about my feelings for her. and we're both lesbian, and we both said, oh, I'd love to marry you, but I don't know how to, like, make things official. Like,
how do you make it official? Yeah, that's all. I see comics about that subject all the time, and it, like,
totally.
I would say that subculture, like, leaks out to where I'm like, oh, I guess that's a struggle that is not like nothing in my scenario, in my situation.
Yeah,
but that's very funny in a way, but also
totally
tragic.
Yeah, it can be hard to, like, navigate these kinds of things when so much of it is, like, rooted in, like, these, like, long histories of power imbalances and weird dynamics and scripts that just don't apply anymore, and, like, the Andrea Dworkin corner. So if you're not familiar,
I don't know who that is, but go for it.
You do know?
I do not know who that is.
Okay, good. So that way I'm not woman-splaining it to you. Andrea Dworkin is a feminist. She's kind of famous. She's, like, one of the more radical feminists that have, like, had like, mainstream attention. She is, I don't know why I'm saying is, because she did die in 2005, I just learned. But she is, like, famous for, like, wanting to, like, fully outlaw pornography, being on, like, a little bit more of the, like, sex negative side of things. And, like, but she just also has, like, a lot of interesting stuff to say. Like, I think in some sense, like, the wanting to outlaw pornography, like, there's an element of, like, calling a square there, where it's just like, hey, this is all demeaning. Like, we should let's just nip it in the, like, why are we being like, let's reform this? Like, let's just cut it out. It's bad, right? And I'm like, I can
kind of the Ted Kaczynski approach of, like, technology is going in a bad direction. What if we just, like, send bombs in the mail? Like, it's like, okay, well, maybe you had me in the first half, but
Yeah, and there's, like, she is often famously misquoted, and this is, like, why I was looking into her, because I feel like this misquote, and, like, also what she was really saying is also relevant as well, but, like, is very relevant to kind of the way that I read BEASTARS, which is, like, the idea that, like, all sex, or all heterosexual sex, like, all penetration is, like, inherently violent, like, it's inherently an act of violence or something.
I have seen that
for,
argument
like,
before.
men and women too. Yeah, and it's like, that's not really what she had more nuance in what she was saying. So that is, like,
are you telling me one quote out of context does not tell the whole story?
Yeah, that is definitely, like, something conservatives ran with, but it's also not what she's saying. And I think that it's like, I don't necessarily agree with everything she said. Her ideas have been dissected a lot, but I do think it's, like, worthwhile to, like, look at them. But yeah, like, it's, like, the idea of, like, in this, like, society with, like, power imbalances or whatever, like, how are you supposed to engage in this kind of, like, relationship without, like, any kind of violence occurring? And, like, she was also like she identified as a political lesbian. It's like seems evident that she was not ever really sexually intimate with like women as far as like anyone close to her knows, and was attracted to men, but like was like, I'm politically lesbian because I don't want to have sex with men, and like this like, you know, regardless of what might have actually been going on, like there's a theme also of like male resentment towards men, like
right. I'm sure that's where the
theories.
immediate criticism goes, is like, you just hate all men or whatever.
Exactly, and it's like one of those things where it's like her ideas deserve, you know, analysis and critique and like all that kind of stuff, but like it's not there, you know. It's not there that like, I mean, like this was a woman who was like beaten by like her ex-husband for like years and survived all this abuse. It's like it's not absent from her analysis like this kind of like underlying resentment towards men and resentment of the fact that she is attracted with them, and like
you can take
has this
someone
desire,
who's maybe on the extreme side of things and like synthesize their ideas and apply a nuance to them. Like I made the Unabomber joke earlier, but I think that you know, people nowadays refer to Ted Kaczynski as Uncle Ted, which I think is an insane like sanitization of a guy who murdered a few people and named a bunch with bombs. But also like, I don't like AI, and I feel like some more like Luddite perspectives make sense at the moment. Like I get it, you know, technology has kind of ruined a lot of things in terms of our society and control, and how much control people you'll never meet have over you. And so
definitely,
weird tangent aside, this figure seems like, I feel like you can take some of these ideas and then refine them and then put them towards incremental change, because radical change is very difficult to actually happen, right? Like you're not going to be able to ban all pornography, and you probably shouldn't, because it would cause its own problems. It'd be a very odd world if suddenly a lot of people didn't have access to porn who maybe need it.
Because it does like it because what she's kind of talking about is like a cultural change, right? And it's like unfortunately, like we don't know the equation of like nature nurture and like all of these like dynamics and stuff like that, but like unfortunately, like undoing like this programming, it's like, you know, I think there's this like aspect of like Legoshi and Haru's relationship that's like their instincts or whatever, like Haru's leg kicking and like wanting to run away while they're like sitting at the table, and like her instinctively putting her arm into his mouth to be eaten, like and
which is a
like
very it's a moment where the metaphor is like, whoa, like what are we doing here? Like what does this mean? Like it is not all, it's all subtext, not text, and you're like, wow, where are we going with this?
And it's like, I think that like you can definitely take, it's like how can a man and a woman have a relationship where they're respecting each other with all of this baggage and like really putting it there? Probably the easy answer is like, hey, you don't you stop thinking so much, and that's kind of the advice that Gokin gives.
Or also communication, like
that too. That could definitely
answer.
Help these characters. It's but like it's fun, I think, to watch some of this stuff being taken to its extremes by like Legoshi especially, and like the like them just having to like get over all of these like weird kind of like hang-ups in order to like, you know, it's like it gives like women who have a fetish for wanting to be choked. You know what I mean? It's like it's probably not a coincidence that in a society where like women are on the bottom, men are on the top, that women have these kind of like fantasies about like, you know,
domination,
having power taken away, or or like even like take like in my own experience, like the transgender thing. It's like, you know, I transitioning from like male to female, it's like I'm embracing all these like girly things, and I'm like maybe doing a little extra, maybe a little too much, and like I'm surrounding myself with cute stuff and putting on nails and makeup, and wow, I love the Barbie movie.
And bunny ears.
It's like yeah. what?
What?
And it's like, some of that is probably like weird societal baggage. Like, would I be non-binary in a society where I hadn't gone through the specific traumas that I gone through or whatever? Like, who fucking knows, right? And it's like, at a certain point, like, you cannot live everything in the theoretical and not just be trying to do things perfectly and not ever like offend anyone with your existence. It's like, you just kind of gotta be, and Legoshi struggles with that for the whole series and doesn't really overcome that, but it's just fun to watch. It's fun to
You've
see.
won me over on the Legoshi monologues, because yes, he is in his head for so much of the series.
Yes, he's a fun character to bounce off of, because he's always going to react to these situations and these problems, and I think like, yeah, and just try to be the most respectful and just like minimize himself in like every situation, but it's like, that doesn't really help most of the time, and he loses all the time. He's so good, he's so innocent, he's so pure of heart, he's so good of intention, and yet he is in the wrong in like nearly every interaction he has with like everyone ever. Like, it's just but
it's an overcorrection that results in more trouble than just being his true self, and including allowing some of his own masculinity into the fray, right? Like, it takes him, Yakuza's plot being a little silly aside, it takes him embracing his instincts and his power to do something great. And now that then is then twisted into Luisa's interpretation of it, or her fake interpretation of it on stage, where she makes it about carnivores and herbivores, when it's not really about that. It's about Legoshi and Haru. Like, it's not about what they represent. It's about the characters themselves, which is a hard distinction to make. But I think the show does a good job of being like, Legoshi does not want to be the representative for all wolves. He just wants to find a way to make it work with this rabbit.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good show. Good.
It's a cool series. Do you want to talk about furries and furryism?
Not really. I don't. It's not because this isn't Sam's prude corner or anything. It's just it is a subculture I don't know that much about. It is.
I do. That was a rhetorical question.
Mallory,
it's not a.
Mallory's furry corner can start now. Let me hear it.
I mean,
I just don't have anything to say about it. It's like, okay, I'm sure that people like this show for a variety of reasons, and I'm sure that's a big one for certain subcultures. It's not why I wanted to watch the show, but it is fun to joke about. Yeah,
I mean, definitely, like, you gotta watch that video essay, and if at a certain point, if you haven't, that'll be a pitch, because, like, man, oh man, do they get into some stuff. I do think, like I will say, I'm definitely gonna make you watch all 3 seasons at some point, so maybe hold off, like, if you don't want to get spoiled. But it's one of those series that's like, I think it's fine either way, but like spoiled or not, I think you can enjoy it. But like I think that like, yeah, like, he makes some great points about furries. I'm all up on furries. Like, furries are like pretty big in my like mental, like, just kind of what's going on in Mallory world right now.
Elaborate
this is my
on
take.
That.
I
Maybe
think
clarify.
I
on
think
that.
Right now, I think furries are very chic. I think they're in. I think that they're what the culture is talking about. I think that people who are not paying attention to furries are going to be falling behind, because I think that like, it's just like. And I think I'm way behind like the ground floor. I think the ground floor was like in like 2006 probably, and like early internet. And I think that like I'm not even remotely close to there. I think they're cool now, and I think that like people are having trouble keeping up, and I think that like it's down. And hot takes about furries. So I've been trying to figure out for a while, like, am I a furry? How do I become a furry? Like, how do I relate to furries? I think I have a desire to become a furry so that I can be in, you know what I mean? So that I can be like...
I was going to accuse you of that if you didn't get to it. I'm like, Mallory, you're jumping from K-pop to furrydom. It seems like I'm noticing a pattern here.
Exactly. K-pop is old hat. It's about furries now, and I, I think I'm kind of trying to like get on the train as it's like kind of taken off, but I don't know. I don't think I'm all the way there, and I'm curious if it's my own hangups. I think like hair is what gets me. I don't like to imagine like a creature with hair all over it. Kind of bothers me. I'm also just scared of most animals in real life. I am afraid of dogs. Big theme. But I think that like I think why are you laughing? I think that like this is my take. I think that everyone is on a spectrum of furriness, because I think that like everyone kind of has a little bit of like furries do a little bit for everyone is my thing. Now there's two gradients here. One is how much they're doing for you. The other is what it is they're doing for you. So for some people that is sexual. Let's address the elephant in the room. That for some people that is like the sexual thing, and they're doing a certain sexual thing for you. For other, why do you have your hands on your face? For other people,
listen. I don't know where the fuck you're going with this conversation. I'm
going
you go.
in a really good direction.
I know you're
I'm
going
making
somewhere.
a really good point.
I'm letting you cook. All right. This is going in a direction I didn't expect, but it's fine. We're 20 episodes into the podcast. We can get into it. Let's hear it.
I think I'm trying to welcome all of our furry fans, okay, or hopefully not haters by the end of my spiel. I feel like for some people you're just like, that looks cool. Some people like the metaphors, it's like Aesop's fables. That's what BEASTARS gets compared to a lot, is like Aesop's fables. There's like another manga, Beast Complex, which is like a bunch of short stories about like, and they're kind of like named like the wolf and the rabbit of like each chapter, and it's like a little bit more like snippets. And it's like, I think that like that's what it does for some people. For me, I definitely like embodying like having like, I own like a lot of pairs of cat ears, and now I own a pair of bunny ears, and I'm learning that I like that too, and that's fun. And I like to embody the like cute spirit and energy of that. And like, who knows what that is?
Can you really join the furry community if you don't like the aesthetic? Because I think that's a little bit of a hard barrier to entry if you don't like the aesthetic of furrydom.
I've seen cool furry art. I've seen like cool furry things that I think is cool. I played a this might be a future pitch, honestly. I played the guy I mentioned earlier, Boring Keith, made this like visual novel that was like a furry visual novel where the art style was like super sick and cool. I like that, I can definitely like engage with some of it. I'm not all about the like Chuck E. Cheese cartoon mascot thing with like the big like eyes and smiles, and I know some people are like all about the like the Five Nights at Freddy characters. Like that's
I like to think I'm a pretty progressive guy. You're gonna pitch me a furry visual novel?
Like that's the
Can we
thing.
make it to year 2 first? I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Sam, you saying that is showing how much of a need there is, because we need to confront these things head on, okay? Furries have been the stigmatized like community, right? And it's like they're just having fun and drawing pictures of animals, and they're just having a good time, and they're just being themselves. And I don't think there's a reason to stigmatize and marginalize these people. And everyone's going to say bestiality. I don't think these people are engaging in bestiality. If someone does that, that's bad. I don't think an animal can consent, but I'm pretty sure that's not what is happening from what I'm saying. Like it just seems so disconnected from anything like that. Like it's like these fantasy monster creatures, like that's kind of what they're all about, So that's kind of like a furry ramble. And I think that...
Did you have a point you wanted to make before I cut you off? Or is it just that furries are cool and you want to be a furry?
That's mostly it. I could relate it back to BEASTARS if you would like. But...
No, I'm okay. That's fine. We can leave it there.
we can just move on.
You know what's the number one thing I think about when I think about furries? And no, it's not them having sex in the costume. I'm sure that's what it is for most people.
Yeah, that's what conservatives are thinking about because they want to have sex in furry costumes and they're repressing themselves.
You know, I watched a furry documentary one time that was fascinating. And
really?
It was basically like, yes, it was it was a documentary about unusual conventions in general. Like one of them was like an Abe Lincoln convention, and one of them was like a furry convention. I don't remember what the third one was. And essentially what it boiled down to was like, people like community. And look, I like community. I'm in the anime community and the manga community. That's taboo in some circles.
Yeah.
What has become less so in the last decade. I get it. I like when my city gets taken over for a weekend a year and suddenly there's a bunch of like My Hero Academia cosplayers.
Yeah, I was just thinking Todoroki hair. Everyone just has white and red hair. That's like the main thing.
And Attack on Titan jackets and whatnot. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm down with this. I'm not anti-furry, but it's a little tough sometimes.
It's a little unfamiliar.
It's a little unfamiliar. I will say, great joke. I don't remember who made it, but it was an observation. Maybe this might be a pirate software bit. Do you know who that is? Doesn't matter.
No, yeah.
But there was a bit about how, for whatever reason, there are many, many furries in the like IT security field, and there was essentially a joke that like, oh man, one of those planes go down, going to the furry convention, and suddenly like the American infrastructure just crumbles. And I thought that was really funny as a concept.
Amazing.
It's like, don't hate the furries. The furries are the ones keeping the lights on, and it's probably some truth to that. I think there's a lot of furry. There are many furries in like the comm-sci sector of industry, and that's pretty funny to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me honestly of like, because there's a lot of furries that are like part of the like LGBT community. Like, LGBT people are largely overrepresented if you're gonna look at like a group of furries, and like it's like I think there's also a connection, like especially like trans people, but like a lot of like queer people in general, like being very on the internet and dissociating, being very tech savvy because they're just kind of wanting a little bit of distance in their bodies. So I don't know, like all of that overlapping like makes it like I hear about trans people in the tech industry. I'm reminded of that. Do you remember this? There was like this trans furry who like hacked something. What was it?
I know what I vaguely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to remember what it was. Like shout out that person for sure. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's cool. I mean, I think that like this is a furry manga or anime in a good way, because it's good to be a furry, and I think that like Paru Itagaki evidently loves this wolf man and is obsessed with him, and I think that's good, and I love that for her, and I do too, and everyone does. There was a telling detail on her Wikipedia page, which was like started drawing Legoshi in like second grade, and I'm like, we're done from. Girl, she is
over
fascinating.
Before it began, you know?
She is such a fascinating person. Like, and very, very mysterious. Like, I'm just, like, any nuggets of information I've been able to get out of, like, I've been reading Japanese interviews by her at, like, certain points. Like,
we're in deep. I do remember, the only thing I knew about her going into this was that her father is a famous mangaka who made Baki, which is a famous manga, and I think that's really cool that someone can like go out and make their own career, and then after they're successful be like, by the way, I am a Nepo baby, but I'm not, you know?
Totally. Yeah, I'm like almost curious to read that for the sole purpose of like learning about the kind of guy her father is, to learn maybe more about her. Like, she's just very interesting.
Baki, I'm not gonna lie, but
well, that is interesting to me. Like, yeah, and it's like there's just so much that like so first of all, she does not show her face in public appearances. She wears like the big chicken head of Legom, which I mean, egg sandwich star of the show, the best character. So cool.
I was wondering if there was going to be a Diva Hour feature for that character.
She is. That's such a good point. She's the diva of the evening. Congratulations on being the one to name the diva this time, because I didn't even think about that, but that is definitely true. Yeah, like she. That's such a funny episode. Like, and it's so. I love that she identifies with that character in a way, and I also like her not showing her face. Like, definitely gives me like Billie Eilish vibes almost, in the sense of like, or at least earlier in her career, I think that like her pictures of her have been leaked, like, which is like, you know, but
the Billie
like,
Eilish thing was essentially like, I'm gonna wear baggy clothes so people don't know what my body looks like, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, to like shield me from like that kind of commentary, and I get a similar
Make it about
vibe
the music,
of like,
quote unquote.
Yeah, like if she were to show her face, then there would be all XYZ commentary about like her appearance and more fixation on her than her art. But like, there's just like, I do feel like she's working through some interesting trauma through this like thing. Like, I mean, there's like the fact that Haru's called, like, her name's Paru and the character's called Haru. It's like, and then you're like, there's this story that I believe is in Beast Complex, where there's like this like herbivore that like basically wants to be eaten, and like is on the like subway, and like basically tries to signal to, I think Legoshi is in this story maybe, but like tries to signal to a carnivore to be like, eat me, basically, like discreetly, and the carnivore doesn't understand. And she talks about relating that to like a real life experience she had of like trying to solicit like anonymous sex on like a train, and the person not knowing what, like the guy not knowing what she was talking about, type of thing. And like, I'm like,
back to
there's
our earlier
something
conversation
about it.
of dynamics are just all over the place at this point. We're all failed boys and girls and in bees. It's just an interesting time to be alive.
Yeah, it's like reading about that and like some of her experiences and like what she's like working through of all this. Like, there's definitely like some gender frustration, I think, like throughout the series, which just makes it so interesting to me, I think. So it's like, you know, I'm not like hounding so much for details that I want details about her shared that she doesn't want shared about herself, but I'm just like, she is an interesting creator, and I'm like curious. I know she has like a newer manga out. Like, this is another one that's like manga pilling me, where I'm like, I feel like I should probably like just read and not just watch the anime adaptation.
It's so funny because BEASTARS has a reputation for just being really ugly as a manga, which is, I think, interesting.
I just want to know, it's less about the art and it's more about like what she's got to say. I will say that there is like kind of a criticism of the adaptation that like Haru has a lot more goofier expressive faces in the manga that are like suffer in the adaptation.
In the 3D
I think some
transformation,
of it's limitation, but because like her face is just kind of stretched out and like all weird like things that kind of hampers her character a little bit. But I mean, she's still obviously strong. I've been ranting at you for a while. Do you have any more thoughts on this series?
I think I'm pretty much wrapped. I think I'm ready to rank it.
All right. What do we think?
I think BEASTARS is very good. I think it has some very strong moments. I think you clearly are very passionate about it, and I don't want to minimize that. However, I will say fair. I had some pacing problems. I can't say it resonated with me as deeply as some other things we've watched, but it's also not necessarily made for me, which is fine. This is not going to be a heart stopper. We're going to get through this. This is the Sam homophobia, transphobia, racist corner is the door shut.
You also gave these disclaimers very fairly in Heartstopper and did judge it by its own merits, and I, being salty, just weaponized all these homophobic accusations just to kind of get my way or stick it to you.
I've been resisting the urge to tell the I have black friends story, which is I ran our anime club in high school, through a series of unfortunate events that resulted in me running this club that I wasn't very passionate about at the time, which in hindsight is hilarious. And we were the only club that accepted the local furries of our high school. So I can't say that I enjoyed those people. I found them really obnoxious and annoying because they were really loud and we were trying to watch anime. However, I didn't kick them out or mistreat them. So this is my Sam and the furries are okay and let's all have peace.
I was mean to furries. I don't know if I was ever outwardly directly mean. I don't know if I ever said anything. I don't even know if I ever gossiped, but I definitely was like, "Oh, they're furry. I'm judging you." So I'm on my apology arc tour. So if you want to be mad at someone, you should be mad at me. Anyway,
I have never had to learn because I was born being tolerant and great. You know, BEASTARS is a B. There we go.
For BEASTARS.
It is a B for BEASTARS. I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed other things more. There we go.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like, again, to say, like, I don't think this is a perfect, like, flawless series. I do think it's, like, really interesting. Like, I like the conversations that it sparks, and, like, trust me, we have more whenever we get into, like, later seasons.
I suspect I'll like a season 2 more than a season 1, because it will kind of get past some of the, like, pacing problems I had of, like, now everything's established. Not to say that Lelouch is suddenly going to become this liquidous man.
Loquacious?
Loquacious. No? Words are hard. Not to say that he's not going to suddenly become this suave, loquacious
James Bond type.
Word. Yeah, not even, but like just that he'll be able to speak full sentences, but that he'll be able to speak a few sentences here or there. I do think I'm looking forward to watching the next season. I will wait until we do it on the podcast inevitably. That brings me to the Sam pitch corner. Bum bum.
Bum, bum.
Sound effect. BEASTARS good.
Pyum, pyum.
Anyway. We've talked about a lot of stuff on this podcast. And we've talked about a lot of varied things. And we've really gone in all kinds of crazy directions. Your webcomics, your manga, your anime, your riddles. Had to bring that one out. Your vlog series.
See, the good thing about doing one riddle is we'll always be able to add riddle to the like. It'll always be its own bullet point.
I've got to update the podcast description to be like we covered various media and riddles.
Riddles.
I think we've done a good job of keeping things interesting, fresh, varied, never really repeating a topic, and that's all been great. I'm gonna ruin that right now. We're watching Andor season 2. Because it's fresh, it's exciting, it's my current obsession. I'm trying to hammer out a video on it unsuccessfully, and it ends very soon. So it will end before the next recording. Andor Season 2, it's good. We're watching it. Screw your expectations and not repeating a topic. It's here. Back to Star Wars.
I'm glad you did it first.
We had our deep allegorical conversation about furrydom and anime and abstraction, but I just want to watch a guy pilot a test TIE fighter, all right? So that's what we're doing.
How much have you watched so far?
9 of the 12 episodes, which I will be revisiting for this podcast.
I haven't touched a single one, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Mon Mothma and the gang are up to.
Mon Mothma, there have been many scenes where I'm like, Mallory's going to enjoy this. I don't want to spoil too much, but Mallory, Mon Mothma rave scene. I'm just going to leave you with
shut. I'm actually going to watch it this week instead of pretending like I watched it like I do every other week. I'm just kidding. I watch everything. I wanted to put that out there so that people can clip it like in the future when they're like making angry like video responses to me. Like,
where's the video essay 10 years from now of like Mallory and Sam were never friends, and I have
Mallory
proof.
doesn't watch. Mallory doesn't.
You can see in his body language
shows.
that he's upset that Mallory's talking about furriness. Like, where's that video? We got to get to that point.
His nostrils flare like whenever she says the word furry. Oh man,
people are dumb. Anyway. That's Andor Season 2. That's the next week.
Until then, have a great day, Sam.
Have a good evening, Mallory.
Judy Hopps!